Hello, Home Instead team. I'm Chaplain Robert Terrell, and this is your December 6, 2021 Monday Motivator. When I was a pastor of a church, we had a widow and widowers banquet every year at this one church. It was to basically recognize that some people had just experienced a loss that year, or maybe the year before, and that Christmas could be a hard time. I mean, Christmas is the most wonderful time of the year. I love it, but it's also hard sometimes. I remember what it was like when we first lost my dad. That was a hard Christmas. Not everybody always recognizes this, though. We get so sentimental that we think it has to be all joy and happiness. One year, we brought a singer into that widow and widowers banquet. And he got up about the middle of his set and he said, "I'm going to sing a song that some people might think was inappropriate." And he began to sing, "I'll Be Home for Christmas." Well, he was right. It was inappropriate, but not for the reason he thought. He thought some people might think it was inappropriate because it was being sung at a church and it was a secular song. We had no problem with that. It was inappropriate because all the widows and widowers there realized that the one they loved wouldn't be home for Christmas. That's why some of them began to cry. He thought he'd touched them emotionally and they were crying for joy, but the reality is they were crying for sadness. So often people don't recognize Christmas and the holidays, they can be a difficult time. I hope you're not experiencing this. I hope it's just going to be joy for you this year. But the reality is it can be a difficult time. And I want to recognize that and give you a few suggestions. Because for many of us this year, we'll have some death involved in it. So here's my encouragement during the holidays. First off, cut yourself some slack. Grief is different for everybody. Sometimes you might function again after a week, a month, 6 months, a year, or a couple. No one can decide how long you get to grieve. So cut yourself some slack. That involves figuring out what to do and what not to do. Maybe you need to do less this year. Maybe you need to do more. I don't know, but you can decide that. Sometimes we need to figure out traditions that need to be continued and traditions that don't need to be continued, and then some that may need to be started. New traditions that we can do that help us to function during the holidays. The other thing I would encourage you to do is to tell stories about the one that you lost that you love. My wife lost her father this year, and one of the things that her family has done is they've been writing letters to each other this year, telling stories about what they remember from their dad. Sometimes funny, sometimes heartwarming, but they tell these stories, and these stories will end up being a part of Christmas because they share what they loved about their dad. The last thing I would like to encourage you to do is to maybe help somebody else. I feel like so often when I'm down, one of the best things I can do is try to help someone else. Find a Christmas holiday basket that you can be a part of gathering. Help someone else in need. Fundraise. So often when we turn to help other people's needs, it helps us with our own needs. My faith teaches me that death will be swallowed up in victory, but life reminds me that it hasn't been yet. Christmas is a time where we get to help one another in our grief and celebrate in our joy. I hope that during the holiday season, you have people around you that tell you stories, that cut you slack, that help you start new traditions and enable you to help other people. And I hope that you have a very Merry Christmas, whether you are in grief or in joy. If you get nothing else out of this video, get this. Our CEO cares for you, and so do I. Have a great week, okay?